This is only a 20-minute session. I'm going to go ahead and get started on time. So welcome, everyone, and thank you for coming. The title of the session is Digital Transformation for U.S. Partners. My name is Sri Ganapathy. I know most of you here. I'm a partner technology strategist in the new One Commercial Partner organization. So the key message that I want to deliver in this 20 minutes is to highlight the value of why, as partners, you should consider transitioning from a services first or a services only approach to more of a solutions first or a solutions approach. Right? That's pretty much the primary outcome for this session. And I want to do that by giving some customer examples. I'm going to give you some partner examples, and I'm going to give you some market context behind it. And then end with the resources that we have within Microsoft to help you make that transition if you're interested. So we'll start with the market context first. Many of you may have seen this. Industrial Revolution 4.0 was officially coined last year at the World Economic Forum. So the idea is that we talk about digital transformation quite a bit in this entire conference, and I'm sure your customers are talking about it. So that is really the next industrial revolution. And the way they're defining it officially is the blurring of the physical and the digital. What that means basically is that you're being entrenched with a lot of technologies, and your day-to-day lives are getting inundated with lots of different technologies that it's really changing the way we act as individuals and as businesses, right? It could be a simple example like wearing a virtual reality headset and taking a vacation right from where you are. Or it could be a company like McDonald's using robots to flip burgers in their kitchen. All these are examples of like the blurring of the physical and the digital, and that's really what they mean by Industrial Revolution 4.0. And the underpinning technology for a lot of this is AI and cognitive services and those sorts of areas. And I know Satya in his keynote talks quite a bit about data and AI, which is a key focus area for us. And so a lot of the digital transformation is pillared around some of those innovations. So I want to start with a few customer examples to kind of illustrate the point of how some of these companies, Microsoft customers, are transitioning themselves. And I know you've heard a lot of examples throughout the day and through the keynotes, so I'm going to give you a couple more. The one in the middle, Mattel, I'm pretty sure most of you are familiar with who Mattel is, toy manufacturing company, makers of Barbie dolls and Hot Wheels and stuff like that. So they worked with Microsoft in building a digital assistant aimed at kids. So they're calling it a digital nanny. So like an Alexa from Amazon or like a Google Home speaker, which is meant for the consumers, Mattel built a purpose-built digital assistant for teaching kids, learning their behaviors, and interacting with them. So it could be something like, I'll sing a lullaby for you to make you to sleep, things like that, right? So use of artificial intelligence, cognitive services, but using it in a way that is very purpose-built for that industry and to revolutionize that industry. Example on the right is the healthcare company called RingMD. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with that. So they're also doing something really innovative where they are getting access to healthcare for remote rural areas. So places like India where it's very hard in rural areas to get access to healthcare, they have an app on their smartphone where they can call the doctor and get access to first quality healthcare. And not only that, they have translation services built within the app that they don't even have to speak the language that the doctor understands. They can speak in their own mother tongue and be able to translate it and get access back to quality healthcare. So something like that which was not possible right in the previous years. And then the other example I have is Agrivi, an agriculture company that is using farm management solution, using IoT sensors and data from around the world to help increase the yield of farmers. So the idea behind this slide is that you have an agriculture company, you have a manufacturing company, and you have a healthcare company, but they're all using technology as the way to innovate, right? So it doesn't matter what industry you're in. It can be in any of the industries. We have several examples where they're using technology to transform themselves. So technology is really the new industry. That's the only industry that we really need to worry about. And PwC did a survey of CEOs and found that, you probably have seen this survey data, 86% of CEOs consider digital their number one priority. So it's resonating with not just a few sampling of customers that I talked about, but also with many, many CEOs out there. So what does this really mean for us, right, as partners and as Microsoft sellers and others? Well, you're now going to cater to a new buyer, a different type of buyer than what you may have been used to before. Right? We primarily sell to IT, at least within Microsoft, and we're really good at selling to IT. But this survey here shows that a lot of the budget and the control of the spend of even IT services are going to be shifting to the business decision makers, right? So they're expecting about 45% by 2018 of the IT spend to be controlled by BDMs versus IT decision makers. Now, IT is still going to play a very important role. So this is not suggesting that there is no role for IT. IT is still going to have a seat at the table. They're going to be a trusted advisor. But you're also going to have to cater to this business decision maker, especially as you're looking at some of these transformative technologies. So if you're having services today that are focused on IT, that's great. But you also need to consider catering to this other audience on the right, whether it's the office of the CMO, office of the COO, et cetera, right, being aligned by their business priorities versus just technology. So what's the partner opportunity? So, and I have more details on the slide in my deck where I have some data points behind each of them. The idea is how do you move up in the value chain as a partner, right? So there are different types of services that you may offer today, whether you're a reseller of Microsoft services or whether you're selling project services, whether you're doing managed services or you have some IP. The idea is how do you sort of move up this value chain so that the more technology you add to your portfolio, the more relevant you're going to be in this new digital world. And what this means is, the one thing that I don't want to scare you is to say that you have to become all of a sudden a software company or a product business. And that's not the idea here, right? This is not about making all of you ISVs. If you want to be, that's perfectly fine. That's a good market opportunity. But that is not the point here. The point here is that if you already have people IP and process IP, which I believe many of you would do, you also need to consider adding technology IP on top of that. So these three trifecta, you actually have a better story to tell, especially catered to those business decision makers. So this slide talks about how progressively, as you build that technology IP, you're actually going to help your services behind the scenes, right? So it's not about just going in and selling a packaged product, click and download, which you can. It's about having those solution offerings that is in turn going to pull your people and process IP even further. So it's going to accelerate what you're already doing today. So how can we help, right? So you've heard the pitch as to why this is important. How can we help? Before I answer that question, this is an intellectual property continuum that we worked with internally in our team to sort of identify where you are today as a partner. So on the far left are partners that are simply doing staff augmentation or time and materials only work, right? And there are many partners like that. On the far right are partners that are more ISVs that have a software product that they sell. And then there are partners in between where they may have some time and material and some repeatable frameworks. Maybe some of them are doing CSP or managed services, et cetera. It does not matter where you are in the spectrum. The idea is how do you move further along in this IP continuum where you get more of those repeatable frameworks and solution offerings as part of your portfolio. So since I talked about how can we help, so my team specifically, and I have the next slide that talks a little bit more about details, within this new One Commercial Partner organization, we help partners in making the transition from just being focused on selling services and how do you build those repeatable solution offerings, right? And the best way to do that would be to use what has worked for you today, some of the customer successes that you have had, find something repeatable within that and make a start, or focus on some of the industry or horizontal solution areas that is going to be important for customers in this digital transformation era. So some more details on this One Commercial Partner org, and you heard Gabriela this morning talk about this in detail at the keynote. So in the past, we've had many different teams at Microsoft that do partner engagements, but we are restructuring into very simple 3 different models. The one on the far right is our sell with channel. So if you're a partner that's saying, well, I already got these solution offerings, I'm good to go, I just want to go sell, that's perfect, because we have the channel managers that are all aligned to a set of customer accounts that can help do that for you. And the good news is that those channel managers do not have to worry about managing partners anymore. So they're free to use partners that they have a need for in their customer accounts. And they're going to be aligned by industry and different account bases based on where they are. So if you have something compelling, and this is where the solution offering comes into play. So if you're a partner that's going to go in and say, I'm a SQL Server partner or I'm a big data partner, the issue with the seller is that they have 250 other partners that say the same thing. So how are they going to bring you in? And that's where having a differentiated solution offering that is catering to the business problem, saying that my solution is probably going to help healthcare by reducing patient readmission rate, as an example. And that all of a sudden gets the attention of the sellers because that is a gap that they see in their existing portfolio versus a big data partner, which they may have 20 already in the books. On the far left, which is actually where my team sits in, is the build with organization. So here is where we actually have We work with a group of partners to help build these solution offerings, move them from the services first to a solutions first approach. And then we have the marketing team in the middle. So what I want to do is, it is easy to just talk about scenarios in general, market data. I think it is best illustrated if I can actually bring a partner to talk about how they actually went through this process of transitioning from services to solutions. So in the last year, the Build With team that I talked about was called the PDU. Some of you may be familiar with it. And Neal Analytics is one of our top partners. They won the Business Analytics Partner of the Year award this year. And they have done this transition successfully. So I'm pleased to welcome David, Practice Director with Neal Analytics, on the stage to share his experience. Thank you, David.
Thank you. All right, so hopefully this microphone works. If not, my voice should be good enough for the smaller one. Perfect. OK. So thank you, Sri. I think the main thing that I wanted to bring as my message for today is that we're not asking every partner to go and take their solutions and their IP and turn it into an app. And we're not asking, or Microsoft is not asking every partner to take what they're building and make it click to deploy, because most of our business solutions, and Neal Analytics as an SI doesn't do that. They go to a customer and say, we will wire it up for you. Yes, of course you have different data sets than our last customer. We can work with that, right? But even though Neal Analytics started out as a kind of from a management consulting spin-off company to work with our customers and put together a variety of different solutions, we ended up building everything from scratch every time and repeating the same effort over and over again. So when last year, as a part of the PDU and working with various teams inside of Microsoft, we looked at AppSource and building a repeatable solution as a way to both increase our internal efficiencies and increase our ability to sell the solution by putting it in front of larger audiences that can go and sell it themselves in the Microsoft field. So the idea behind putting our IP, where we've done a variety of different projects, thank you, to like SKUMax inventory optimization is our solution that's in AppSource right now, where we did a variety of different projects historically that our customers kept coming to us asking, how can I figure out which SKUs are the best ones to put on my shelves? And we've done it 3 or 4 times in a variety of different markets, and we said, hey, we might have something here that we should take to more customers as an offering. And instead of just selling the art of the possible, which is a fantastic way to start the conversation, we need to get their CFOs ready to sign the check by knowing what the ROI of the solution is, defining what that offering is, and giving them a framework so that we don't just come up and say, hey, we're consultants. We can build you anything you want because we're the best carpenters around. What kind of house do you want? I've got a stack of blueprints here. Maybe you could look at those. Or you go and you look at all the houses in the neighborhood and say, okay, do you want that one in blue, maybe with another bedroom? Perfect. You give them a frame of reference to understand what you're actually offering and the business value of that solution so that you can go in and say, I have this solution. It will optimize your SKUs. Let me show you what the interface looks like and how it works. I've got a sandbox demo you can try yourself. If you want to customize it, absolutely. And that gives you a place to expand your presence inside the customer, to sell services and work in the traditional ways that you would. So as far as the continuum slide that Sri was mentioning, is that we have even the most difficult transition for a pure management consulting, data science, advanced analytics consulting, custom projects business that is as far from an ISV offering as you can get, is to take that and in a few months for something that you have no repeatable materials for, or potentially just a few weeks or days if you have a repeatable solution already, to load that into AppSource and build that marketing bomb to support it, and then get that out into the market. Because the value in doing so is taking that data science expertise, or maybe you have an infrastructure solution that you put together over and over again, and each time you have to start from scratch. But thanks to the Azure systems out there, you can basically script that whole process to deploy automatically using ARM templates. So Microsoft has pretty much every tool in the book to take you from having something that is not repeatable and hard to understand the value for, and putting a framework around it so that you can go to your customers and say, I have a solution for this, and I have a solution for that. And with the Microsoft Field, they have maps where their sellers can go and see, all right, I need a solution for this for my customer. These are the partners I'm going to go and contact. Or the customers will even get notified by browsing that app on AppSource, and then the customer account team will be notified that their customer is looking at you as a partner to go and build that. So there's massive benefit to putting together your solutions and going from doing things the way that we have been for the last several years into something where we're going to take the one solution that we have and we're going to put 10 of them in the next year, because we're getting hundreds of leads just from having this one solution in there. And all it takes is, putting together a video, a few, marketing blurbs and PowerPoint decks to train the Microsoft sellers so they understand the solution, and that's all it is, right? If it's something like ours where it's a little bit more free form and from a project, yeah, maybe you need to build a website interface to demo that solution, and it take you some time to do that. But the investment versus the return here is fantastic in building your business, because the ability to scale, we can't even address every lead that we have right now. It's that big. But I'll go ahead and turn it back over.
Yeah, thanks, David. So if you guys are not familiar with AppSource that David talked about, that's one of our tools that's available out there to showcase your solutions. But the audience for the AppSource is business decision makers, right? So we have our Azure Marketplace, which is more for IT solutions. So let's say you're a ISV that built like a VM for a specific purpose. You put it in Azure Marketplace. But AppSource is for exactly what we're talking about, the solutions, the business relevant stuff that you didn't put on there. Like David said, you can have it as detailed as click and try it out, or how much more customizable you want to make it, you can. So that's a great tool to leverage. So now Neal Analytics is one great example of a partner that I worked with. But obviously, there are several Microsoft partners that are doing this digital transformation successfully. So I had the pleasure of talking and interviewing with several one of them. So I have some logos in here. Obviously, this is not a full representative list. And many of the partners are here in this room. So thank you so much for all the work. We have representation from many of these partners in the room. So if you have, if you want to share some best practices or talk to these other partners on how they've done this transition, I'm sure they'll be glad to share that with you. Now, the point I want to also make here is that it doesn't matter what type of partner you are, because in this slide, I have examples of an ISV partner that may have built managed services on top of it. I have an example of an SI partner that have then built managed services on top of it. So there's lots of different ways in that IP continuum that you can move across to get better value at it. But the idea is obviously to move from services first to solutions first. So it's a 20-minute short power session. So hopefully that message was clear with some of the examples I gave you. I think I have exactly 1 minute and 50 seconds left if you have any questions. Can the partners that I had in the other slide please stand up so we can recognize the work that you all have done? Thank you so much for that work. All right, if there are no questions, if there are no further questions, that's it from me. Again, feel free to reach out to any of us in the One Commercial Partner Organization. As we're all learning the new acronyms and the new changes at Microsoft, I'm pretty sure in a couple of weeks we'll know exactly who the right contacts are for you. But you can definitely use me as a resource to get in touch and get you started on this journey from moving from services to solutions. Thank you so much.